Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Health Hangouts with Amanda. For those of you who might be joining us for the first time today, this is a video series about spreading strength, hope, and love to those of you who are struggling in this pandemic and aren't asking for help or don't know how to ask for help. And this is just about sharing ideas of what we can be doing to better our lives or strengthen ourselves through the struggle. And so today I'm super happy to say we have Julie with us. And Julie, for those of you who do know me and us, Julie's been around in my life for 32 years and I am 35. So do the math. We were 3 years old and we met on the corner of our block. There's another Julie in this mix, and hopefully we'll do a video with her too. But so there was the three of us basically our whole lives, and it still is. And even though like we live in different cities, well, they live in the same city, but I'm really delighted that you're here doing this with me because although I saw you in February when I was in Alberta, this is just so cool because we've never done this video thing before. So it's going to be really interesting. This likely will be a very non-professional, personal, hysterical kind of interview because that's the way we are together. So, so Julie, if you, I'm going to hand it over and you can introduce yourself. Like what you do for work, and really we're going to talk about the impact of the pandemic, but we'll probably talk about ridiculous other things. So thanks for being here.
Absolutely. So hi everyone, I'm Julie. So I live in Lethbridge, Alberta, and born and raised. And I work for an agency in Lethbridge called Quest Support Services. So we provide supports to individuals with special needs here in Lethbridge. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. I've been with Quest for almost 4 years, but in the field of supporting people with special needs since I was 21 or 22. So 10, 11 years. And so yeah, the pandemic is definitely changing the way we do our work, as well as really affecting the people that we support. So yeah, personally, I'm married to my husband, John. We've been together for 13 years, married for 5 this year. And we didn't just, it feels like just, but we have a 17-month-old daughter, Brooklyn. And yeah, she's been a dream come true.
Aw, what a beautiful thing to say. And she is just a button. I just love her with my whole heart. So yeah, so Julie, this pandemic piece here, let's maybe start with work and how that's been affected. Like, are you still going to work? Are you working from home? And you know, it's a lot of, I don't know to say like hands-on, but to be around people in your job is really important for your clients. So like, how is that all unfolding?
Yeah, so when I came back from maternity leave, so for most of my career, I've done like group homes. We don't like to call them group homes anymore because they're not really group homes. They're people's homes that we work in. But when I came back from mat leave, I went to a day program. And so our agency has like 3 different group home or day programs that are all kind of separate buildings, but all operating together. And I worked in the one that was I work and run the program that the people are most medically compromised, and their disabilities are more medical and developmentally delayed, not so behavioral. And so our program was one of the first to shut down. So we're still operating, but my place of work shut down on March 16th, the day before St. Patrick's Day. So all of our St. Patrick's Day party plans didn't happen, but whatever. So I stayed there and we still employed a lot of staff. So most of the individuals live in group homes with other agencies or within Quest's community living programs. So they stayed home, and we provided supports for a period of time in their homes. But as the restrictions within Alberta got stronger, the other agencies didn't want our staff in their home. So that slowly decreased the amount of people I was supervising. Granted, we still have, it's actually awesome. the company I work for is great. So we're still employing people at the day programs, and they're putting all of like the fees that the people pay towards putting together craft packages and snack packages, and every week doing delivery. Yeah. And then encouraging people to submit pictures of their stuff and just trying to get them involved that way, and making a presence on our social media to get people involved. So not unfortunately, because I knew that I knew it was going to happen with my history in community living, but at the beginning of April, I was moved over to our community living program. So we have 36 homes within the city of Lethbridge that have individuals that need different levels of care in their home. So staff are in their home 24/7. And so I joined that team mostly because there was a significant amount of people from my program that are also supported residentially. And so it was just an increase in work for the community living supervisors before. So I have a caseload now. So I still work. I still go out of the house every day and go to our office. But our office is closed to the public. So we have to go out every day to our locations that we supervise and make sure they're staying safe and staying healthy, and staff are following all of the protocol. And so it's been a big change. I'm used to being at the day program and having fun and making sure people are having a good time and meeting their goals in regards to their community access. And now it's just keeping them safe, and staff using the proper PPE to keep them safe. So yeah, it's been a big change.
Mm-hmm. And PPE means like procedures?
No,
based
personal protective
or
equipment.
Oh yeah, okay.
So a lot of the people that I support directly are medically, so there's a lot of hand over hand support. They need help with toileting, bathing, feeding, showering, dressing, all of that stuff. So that 6-foot recommendation is nearly impossible. And so there's been a lot of restrictions that we have to place, which is tough because when you're in the world of people with developmental disabilities, putting restrictions on their lives is, you know, they already have so many limitations just with their cognitive ability or their developmental disability or wherever they're at. And now we're saying you can't go to your day program, which is like their school or their job. You can't go see your mom or dad. You can't go see your friends. You can't. So it's tough for them. Routines are way out of whack. Because like you or I, where everybody's a routine, has some sort of routine. We're creatures of habit. And so when it's, you know, individuals that don't understand, they can't comprehend what's going on. It's tough. The staff struggle, behaviors change. They're, you know, it's getting to a doctor's appointment is hard. Psychiatry support is hard because we can't go to any of those. Everything is through the computer or through the screen, and individuals that doesn't work for them. Like, why can't I just go see my doctor? Why can't I just go see my counselor? Why can't I? And video stuff, it doesn't seem to have the same effect.
Especially when comprehension is challenged.
Absolutely.
Because that was going to be one of my questions for you, was like, how are they coping because of that, perhaps the intellectual difference or the physiological difference or whatever the challenge is for these folks. How are you guys as a staff body, or how is your team able to support them in that? Because the behaviors themselves before the pandemic are already challenging. The lives of these people are already challenging. And now, actually, the last interview I had, it was just, we talked about that it's just compounding problems. How do we rise to the challenge as staff and support them in the way that they need the best we can? Yeah.
So, I mean, I can speak for like my caseload, which is 4 houses and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 individuals that they're managing okay. 2 weeks ago, we had to take away transportation. So we kind of like my direct supervisors have like communication with the minister within the government of Alberta, because our funder is the government of Alberta. We get, like, my wages essentially are paid by the government of Alberta through a third party, which is Quest, essentially. So we take all of our direction from them. So in Alberta, it's, everybody talks about, I don't know if anybody in BC has, or you've heard of Dr. Hinshaw, but she's our chief medical officer. So she's the one that does the daily announcements or whatever. And so we get direction from
I've seen her face. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know her name.
The periodic element dress. Anyway, but we get direction directly from her in Alberta Health Services. So 2 weeks ago, it was recommended that we stop transporting individuals, which was the biggest and the hardest change. Because we were still able, like, it was great. We had some individuals who wanted to see their friends, and so staff they'd drive through the Tim Hortons parking lot, and they'd park, or through the Tim Hortons drive-through, get coffee, and then they'd park in Lethbridge by the Galt Museum, you know what I'm talking about, overseeing the coolies, and they'd roll down their windows and they'd yell back and forth to visit. Like, it was fantastic because they still had that social connection. They were still able to, drive to the park and still go for a walk together because you could social distance that way and still just be with people. And now they can't. Besides their roommates, if they have roommates, and their staff, they can't do that. And so for my caseload, there's a couple individuals that are really struggling with that. And you're noticing it's tough because they don't talk about it. They just get mad and then they just don't do anything. And so what I've noticed thus far, not so much mental health, but like physical health, in regards to diet and exercise. And, they're not moving, not that they worked out before, but they still got up and went on the bus to go to program and still had to walk around program and leave program, go on the bus to go home. So they were still like moving. And so you or I or anybody who just sits around and doesn't do that anymore, it does play a havoc on your physical health in regards to digestion and all that stuff. So we're noticing more of that, more than anything actually, which is surprising. That's been the toughest. And then some people just AWOLing, which, I mean, we call it AWOL, but they're just leaving because they usually have that freedom and they say, yeah, I know social distancing. Yeah, I know I can't go see people. But then they end up at the store calling for a ride. Well, I'm sorry, I can't pick you up because we're not allowed to transport you, that. And so just a lot of like the same conversation, and individuals say they understand, but they truly don't.
So a lot of repetition and trying to keep them in check. And not only are we responsible for our own behaviors in society, going to the store and maintaining these social distance and wearing masks and whatever we have to do to protect ourselves and those around us. In your profession, you're also responsible for these 4 houses of these, all these people. And so if they go AWOL and they go off and they, it's like, and then they need some help after that, we're saying, like, having this conversation again, saying this is why this is important and why going off on your own is not a good idea. Like, let's work together to try to achieve what you need. But it's tough because we don't know how long this is going to go on for. Some people say, okay, well, we're going to do a slow or soft open. And I've heard, and I don't know if you can clarify this or not, because I don't know for sure, but like Alberta is going to do a slow open and see what happens. Like, what about a second wave? Like, is this a good thing? Is this not a good thing? Are the numbers plateauing? Like, what, do you know anything about kind of what's happening in Alberta in that way?
I know that they're talking about soft opening, and I don't, like, my understanding, and this could be completely wrong, but my understanding is essentially our health system isn't overburdened. So it's not that it's slowed down. I mean, the numbers have slowed down a little bit, but it's still 70 to 100 cases confirmed a day. Like, that's still too high, in my opinion.
So there's still people, getting sick.
And it's it's growing. Like, it's slowly growing in Lethbridge too. Like, for the longest time, Lethbridge only had like 4 or 5 cases, and they were all like not active anymore. And it's now there's, more active cases. And so my understanding is, like, from yesterday till the 13th, essentially. They've done some soft opening, like golf courses can be open, but not like their clubhouses and not their rentals. But if you have your own stuff, you can still go and play around at golf, which, I mean, at least it's outdoors and you should be able to social distance. But, you know, chiropractors are allowed to be open again with some restrictions. I have a friend who's works in a dentist or orthodontics office, and Jason Kenny said dentists can be open, but I was talking to her the other day, and it's very, very limited, and they're still trying to figure out all of the fine print. They were told Thursday that they could be open Monday, and most of them aren't yet because of all the fine print. I think it's too soon, personally. I won't be going anywhere more myself, and we're staying put. Fortunately, we have, like, I probably have told you some stories about like what we do as an agency, like to team build and take breaks and stuff like that. And like the owners of our company are super creative people and super outgoing, fun people, you could say. So like we've really, within we call it the Quest family and the Quest community, been pushing social media. So we have Mindful Monday challenges every Monday, and it's on Instagram, and do something and send it in and vote, and cool. And it'll be posted on our social media. And then there's votes the next day, and people either win Quest swag or pizza lunch or whatever. So there's Mindful Monday, and it's been like, post a picture, like do an artwork and post your picture of your artwork, or draw a bug. Like the first one was draw a bug, and then there's do a dance party, and this past Monday was a lip sync, and then Wednesdays, last week was the first one with Wednesdays, the happen and hump day. Say that a few times. But, and just like another challenge, last week was a TikTok video. Post your best TikTok video. And then Friday is Flippin' Friday. And so the first one was like, we delivered microwave popcorn and a can of pop and like movie snacks. Your favorite, Amy, sweets, chocolate sweets, and popcorn pop. Sure. And then watch your favorite movie, get all comfy and watch your favorite movie and submit a picture. So just trying to get people involved that way. And then we also have our YouTube channel too. So we're getting people involved that way. So they're still seeing pictures of the people who are willing to do it are still seeing pictures of their friends. They're seeing management getting involved. I did an 80s themed lip sync on Monday. So
did you actually post it somewhere so I can look at it?
I can send it to you.
Okay,
but it was like I was wearing my outfit for my bachelorette party.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
I was there. And that was awesome.
Brooklyn has one of those, those kids microphones that you talk into it and it like echoes.
Yeah.
So I had that, and I was lip syncing to Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And we're just getting involved that way just to try and get people active. And we have one of our day programs is an outreach program. So it's outreach to the transient population. And when it's normally opening, it's kind of like a quote unquote drop-in center, just where, people who are homeless or don't have a steady place to stay and roof over their head can go for, there's a kitchen and they can store food there and cook a meal or whatever. So they did like trivia today. So through Facebook Live, they were doing trivia, because we always do trivia in the program. And on Fridays, there's always a jam session. So on YouTube, it's a live jam session with this. We have a staff who's really musically inclined, really musically talented. And so he, like, I don't know, you can request any song and he'll play it on the guitar or the keyboard and sing it. Like, so we're still getting people seeing familiar faces that way and doing some, so it's been phenomenal that way. And I really truly attribute that to the management and just helping with keep the individuals and the staffs just going and doing and coming up with all sorts of things. This week we started pen pals between houses, and we're giving them suggestions of things to draw or write about, and then management will pick up the letters and deliver it to their pen pal, and they just kind of get to know other people that way within our agency, because we do support 150 individuals and have almost 400 staff. So we have that ability with the amount of people that we support.
I love it. Like that whole description of all the different things that you're doing, like that is gold. Yeah. Julie, that's so cool.
So, and I can't take credit for any of it. That's like our higher management, our director team is phenomenal. So shout out to them. I don't know if any of them will watch this. I told them about it, but
you just click forward or click share, whatever. I'll tag you in it, of course.
Exactly.
It'll be posted in like 5 days or next week sometime, because I'm that far ahead right now. But yeah, so just share it, and if they, you know, it's helpful or whatever. But this is really, that's one of the most concise descriptions of multiple things that people are doing to bring others together. Like that was so well done, and I love it, because you're just saying like, yeah, this is really tough, and we're dealing with a population that doesn't understand. So these are the things we're trying to do to bring fun into the world, and like show them that it's okay, like we're gonna get through this. And I love it, like this, you know, like a TikTok video and like the movie thing, like it keeps people engaged in a way that can be really advantageous for mental health, because especially for folks who don't understand what's happening, where you have to kind of repeat it and they understand it in their own way, but the impacts of mental health can be great. And so what we're faced with is something we can't control and we can't change. So, and part of this video series is really about being able to say, let's insert different things that we can create positivity through, because we can't change any of this. And I love the description you gave of all the things you're doing, because it's fun, it's engaging, it's positive. It's saying like, this is the way that we can do this for now until we're allowed to re-engage physically. Right? That's beautiful.
Like there's always going to be that handful of people or couple handfuls of people that actually participate. So you typically see the same faces on, you know, on the videos that are submitted and then shared on the Quest Instagram and stuff like that. But I know that more people watch it, and it just, you know, sometimes just seeing somebody, like I think, you know, it was funny because I did that video, the lip sync this past week. I think back to that one the most, about how crazy I felt when I was doing it, and my neighbors, because I did it at lunch hour, and I was telling I don't want to say it too loud because she'll start doing it, but I was telling like our Amazon smart speaker, I don't want to say her name, starts with an A. I just kept saying, like, I just said, play this song and turn it up, and it was blaring, and it's lunch hour, so the back door's open so the dogs can come in and out. And my neighbors probably, because all my neighbors are home, they probably were just going crazy, thinking, what the heck is this person doing? And if they could see in my windows, I'm wearing this neon clothes and zebra print skirt, and my hair's done in a crazy high pony, and
it's amazing.
But it made people laugh, like, and that's what it's about, is getting like, if you're not going to be involved, because getting involved makes you feel good, as much as that you don't want to, a lot of times getting involved makes you feel good, but for some people, just watching that and getting a good laugh makes you feel good too. And that's what I love about it. And I think that's what's, you know, there's the people that get involved, and that's really good for their mental health, and then there's people who like to see people make fools out of themselves, and that's good for their mental health too.
Absolutely. And this is one of the reasons why TikTok is so popular. You know, I don't have a subscription to TikTok, or however that works. Like I've just seen, you know, some videos being sent to me, but people love to watch people be ridiculous or talented, or, and they love to be on, like, behind the scenes and seeing what people are up to without showing themselves. And that's what I'm noticing even with these videos, is where there was one video that had 700 views. And I was like, holy cow, you know, and I really attribute that to the reputation of the person who's in the video, but
Mm.
it was just like, wow, lots of people are watching this, but how many people do you think come forward and say, hey, I would really like to join the conversation and be in one of your videos? Like, no, like this does not happen. I'm
Exactly.
asking a lot, but what I'm finding is that some people are saying to their friends, hey, check this out. And then some people are coming forward through that. But I haven't had yet to date a random person, one of those 700 people who might have watched that video, or the 100 that watched the video that was, well, it's probably more now. Watch the video from this morning. This video will have hundreds of views in the first week for sure. But I'm not getting anybody to say, hey, like I want to join this conversation. And I attribute that to people like being, you know, afraid or possibly disinterested or whatever. But so many people behind the scenes are benefiting from it. And I'm hearing that. Some people actually watch every single video, and there's positivity that comes from that. And some people don't care at all, and that's totally fine. Like, I don't care. This is helpful to my mental health, and if it's helpful to somebody else who's watching, that's the point, right?
Well, it's promoting
it's which
promoting connection is so important in life. And whether, like, you know, sometimes you follow people on social media or TikTok or whatever, and you don't know them, but you feel like you're their friend because of social media, because you know who their kids are and what their kids look like. And if you saw their kids on the street, you'd say, oh, that's so-and-so's kid, or, oh, that's, you know, it's kind of creepy in some ways for me as a mom. But, you know, people that are in the social media, and like I take for example, a couple years ago, I've been going to Big Valley Jamboree for a few years, as you know, with Julie, or the other Julie.
Yeah, the other Julie.
Was canceled this year.
Canceled, so yeah. I think actually, hasn't Julie gone to Big Valley like 18 times or in a row or something ridiculous like that?
This would have been her 20th year.
Holy, now that is dedication.
I'm glad it's canceled. Like, I would have gone because I paid the money to go and you wouldn't get your money back. And I mean, I guess I could have sold my ticket, but I would have gone, but it wouldn't have been fun because I probably would have been wearing a mask, and I probably would be wearing gloves, and I probably wouldn't be. And when you're wearing a mask, you can't have your adult beverages and stuff like that. Yeah. So I'm glad that they canceled it because it's the smart thing to do. And like Alberta got banned to them, so they would have gotten lots of fines. But anyway, a few years ago at Big Valley Jamboree, there's an artist who's a local artist, Brett Kissel. Country music, if anybody, you might have heard of him. He's getting bigger in Canada, but I really liked his messages, and I really liked how he talked. And so I followed him on Instagram. And through that, I started following his wife. And his wife, Cecilia Kissel, is a Friesin. So anybody in Southern Alberta, you know that, and you're Dutch. I'm Dutch.
I know that last name too.
Right? Yeah. So you know that last name. So it kind of just, and I, you know, creeped her page if she ever sees this. Creepy, but you know, and it was just to see if I knew any of the family members that she was connected to on social media, and I didn't, but that's okay. But I really liked their message. And now if I were, they live in Nashville and Edmonton, but if I were to see them in Edmonton, it would be hard for me not to go up to them and talk to them, because I feel like I know them, because they do put their life out in on social media, and it's a connection. It's not, it's a type of connection. And in today's generation, like, you know, 10 years ago, you would think connection through, and never meeting the person, connection, and never shaking that person's hand. But it's this generation's connection. It is through screens. And I think that that's crazy, but I think that that's awesome. And it's what's getting us through this pandemic. I really do think so.
Yeah. Yeah. There's one thing that you said earlier that I just want to clarify, is that you said, you know, for the clients that you serve, they have to do everything on the screen, you know, like they're seeing their doctor, and they're, you know, and they're, this is my paraphrase, but that there was something missing in that. And here I'm hearing like, this is great, but I mean, it's not ideal. And that's kind of the sense I'm getting, but I'm wondering if you can clarify what you mean by, like, what the limitations are to the connection via screen, and what the great parts of connection via screen are.
I think the great connections via screen right now like for me personally, is that I can see my family, and my daughter can see them and doesn't forget who they are, because she's at that age where like that impressionable age, you know, between 8 to 9-ish months and 2 years. And so for me, like there's still that connection because you can still see someone and you recognize them. And I have the comprehension to know that this isn't forever. And I have the comprehension to know why, if I want to see these people, I need to do it through the screen. Work-wise, they don't have the comprehension. So you and I, like, I feel like if you and I, or within your work, because you do all of your work through computers, you get to know people and you get to know their mannerisms through that computer. And you know me, and you would know if I was sad just by seeing me, but they don't have that comprehension with their doctors, and they don't understand why they can't see their doctor. And not that they really, like, I find, not especially with psychiatrists, with any doctor really, but for a lot of the individuals we support, the behavioral component, the mental health component, the psychiatric component is so important. Because if they're mentally not well and their chemicals in their brain aren't well and they need their medication, then it's hard to figure out, like, you always go to physical first. Do they have a bladder infection? Are they in pain somewhere? They can't communicate that pain. Do they not understand it? Right? So you always go to medical first. But then you go to psych. And if the doctor can't physically see them manifesting, like so often we get the individuals in when they're manifesting some of their behaviors of concern, because it's hard to explain. And so you need the doctor to see it. And the doctors don't see it on a screen because they can't, like you wouldn't be able to see, if I was anxious right now, my foot was tapping, and that's a sign of my anxiety, you wouldn't see that, right? So the value isn't there with the doctor. So we're finding a lot, like they're still seeing, psychiatrists especially, they're still seeing and following through with their patients. Personally, I haven't experienced anybody do any medication changes through that. But if we want to see them, if we want to physically see them, we have to go to the hospital and then just see whoever the psychiatrist is on call. So none of the psychiatrists are physically seeing patients that I know of in Lethbridge, which is tough with the population we support. And so that connection piece isn't there through a screen for them. If I had a psychiatrist and I needed to see my psychiatrist through a screen, I feel like I would be able to articulate. And if I wasn't able to articulate, my husband could articulate what he's seeing to my doctor, because of just my level of comprehension and my, so like, I think that's the difference for me. Socially, for individuals, we've been promoting video chats and that has been going okay. A few individuals have been set up with, accounts on Skype and Zoom and stuff so that they can video call their friends. But it's, it's so different for them. And surprisingly, so many of them are coping quite well. But I do think that stuff will start coming out of the woodworks the longer we're closed, the longer that they're stuck in their homes. And I also think that we might see, not so many, but a lot of individuals just a lot of times they want to just stay home. They don't want to be active. They don't want to be involved. It's easier and it's more fun. And I think we all have that idea of, there's always an element of, oh, I don't want to go to work today. I just want to stay home and watch TV all day. Like, everybody goes through those days, and for them, they get in such a groove. I think we will have a harder time getting them back into their old routines than it was breaking their old routines into new routines.
I totally agree with you. I think in the general population, so the average worker who was working 9 to 5 and then now is at home and can do a bit of work on the computer and then walk to their kitchen and get a snack and then come back to their computer, like that that guy is going to have trouble going back to work 9 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
especially with a job that he doesn't like very much. And I say he, but I mean all of us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And personally, like I'm biasly delighted that everyone is now seeing the value of working online. Because I was criticized greatly 7 years ago when I started working online, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna do what I do and see what happens. And so there's a lot of pleasantries that I suppose that have come out of professionally has come out of this pandemic,
Yeah.
as far as this work goes, as far as socially connecting with you in a digital way.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I also know what it feels like to experience loss as a result of the pandemic too. So I'm not like, oh, jumping for joy, like, hey, people understand the value of working online. But
Yeah.
I've lost a business also that needed to close as a result of it.
Yeah.
And like, we're still, when I say lost, it's still a business. It's still registered, but it's not, we're trying to
Not
move
operate.
everything online. And we're not offering anything. Well, we're offering some things online, but it's hard. It's really hard. So yeah, but I do take delight in knowing that the world is starting to see the value of working from home.
Absolutely.
And
Do you think
I think
that
it's going to change everything.
I agree with you 100%. I think that
Mm-hmm.
there, I mean, I don't know to what degree, but I think that there's going to be a lot of businesses who are going to realize the value in having people that work from home and the cost savings probably for people to
Mm-hmm.
work from home. I also think that there's going to be a lot of businesses who realize that they can operate with less manpower. So you
Yeah.
might see people not go back to jobs that have been laid off because it's been deemed that their job isn't needed, which is really sad. Especially like in Alberta, the economy and the like oil field, right, drives the Alberta economy,
Mm-hmm.
and it was already so low before all of this,
Mm-hmm.
and now, like, I think last week or a couple weeks ago, oil was selling at like below zero, like they were
Minus.
in a way, like they were paying people to take it. So
Yeah.
that sucks. In like my work won't be affected at all. Like I don't think the work will still need to be done. We will just have to be more creative to do it if funding gets cut because of the economy. But like John's in construction, like
Mm-hmm.
fortunately he's not commercial, and people are always going to need furnaces and stuff. Air conditioning is more of a choice, I suppose. But yeah, so like that's scary and like we have family members that work in oil in Calgary, and it's scary to think like how this is going to affect, how the pandemic is going to affect the economy in Alberta for sure.
Like long term, and yeah, and
Yeah.
people's ability to support themselves and their families, right? Yeah. But so John is still working though, like he's
He is right
like
now.
he's,
Yeah. He
yeah, okay.
they have to take a lot of precautions, and it's kind of like the emergent situations need to come before anything else, obviously. But our weather in Alberta has been so beautiful that they haven't really had, like, furnaces aren't down, and so it is slowing down a little bit because money isn't flowing in everybody's pocket, so they're not paying that extra money to get air conditioning this year, that sort of thing. But he is still working, fortunately. We haven't seen too significant of slowdown for him. So
Right. Yeah, but, well, that's great. That's great. And then so
yeah,
I'm just curious for you, like, I can speak from my heart, and I normally speak from my heart in everything I say. I try to, but my heart is just so happy to see you. Just yeah, it's just I saw you in February and it was wonderful. But seeing you, it's interesting. Like I get emotional, but I miss you. Like I really miss you, and so it's just wonderful to see you and have this time with you. It means a lot to me.
yeah, me too.
So
Yeah.
for you personally, how are you doing with, like, work aside? how are you doing with the pandemic, just in, on
You
your own,
know,
in your family system?
overall, it's been pretty good. I think the fact that I'm still working has helped tremendously because I still get that social um, human contact. Even though I'm wearing a mask, gloves all the time, I still see people all the time. I'm not stuck at home. It was a struggle at first. I went back to work in January. So I was navigating being a new mom and a new working mom. And finally was like, we were getting into that groove because John's work is so like, he starts work before me every day. So, I'm getting Brooklyn up and he's leaving at that time. So, Brooklyn and I got into a groove and a routine, and work was like a 4-minute drive from here, that location. So like we had this great routine, and then they moved me to a different office, which is on the west side of town, which sounds horrible to it's not. It's like an 8-minute drive instead of a 4-minute drive. But that's a big deal when you're trying to get out the door and get a toddler who's
especially when you're used to something and then you're like, oh man, they're gonna move me to the west side. And anybody in Lethbridge knows what that means. It's like, I have to drive that west side hill now.
So it was a hard transition. Like I knew it was going to happen. Like I foreshadowed it 100% that they were going to move me over there. But it affected me more than I thought it was. Just because like I value going back to work was hard, and just not spending as much time with Brooklyn as I was. And like being a stay-at-home mom wasn't an option for us. At this point in time. So I knew that it had to come, and I knew that it was coming, and I was excited for the adult interaction because talking baby does get old. And trying to entertain her was getting harder just because she was getting more mobile and moving from thing to thing. And so fortunately in Alberta, day homes weren't affected as long as there was less than 7 kids. And so she has been still going to the same day home, but it's been hard. I now I've adjusted. It's been 4 weeks now. Just the mind shift of jobs, and how that affected, it's only 4 minutes, but 4 minutes is a lot in the morning. I have to get out the door, and then less time to get supper ready.
And schedule.
Yeah, just that schedule component. And so, and then going into it when the isolation first happened, John and I both said, our lives won't really change much because we, with a kid, our lives had changed having a kid, and we didn't go out much, and we didn't, we, in our minds, well, we don't go out much, like this will be easy. But the grocery shopping and, if we were bored on a rainy day or a snowy day, let's just go walk around the mall. Let's just go, to the indoor play park so that Brooklyn can still be get moving and playing the balls or whatever. And all of that stopped, which I didn't realize how often we did that. And then I'm the not wanting to take Brooklyn, obviously, because heaven forbid she gets sick, but so not wanting to take her to Walmart. So it's like, well, we're doing grocery shopping in by ourselves now. Like we can't go as a family anymore. And, those things were so hard, and I still miss them. And then we actually this past week did our first pickup. So we did with Superstore and ordered everything online. And then I've always kind of been, no, I'm going to pick my own produce. I'm not trusting somebody else to pick my own produce. And if I want steak, I want to pick my own steak. I don't want somebody else to pick my steak. But we did it this week for the first time, and it actually was really good. We got a really good head of lettuce, and we got a really nice tomato, and so I was impressed. And so you're just I'm finding, and one of my goals, personally and professionally, has been just to be a little bit more mindful, and be present, not mindful, but be present, and do the mindfulness activities and not meditate, but kind of on the same lines of meditate. And so that's kind of been a goal that I've been mostly since I've been back to work is, And that's why I refuse to get TikTok, because social media and on my phone already takes me away from Brooklyn so much, that I don't want another app that I'm wanting to check and being like addicted to, because I want to be present and I don't want Brooklyn to know me by the back of my phone. And so it's been strange doing that, and she doesn't understand it. It's funny, we video Zoom chat with her cousins in Calgary, and so we always do it on our phones, and so she takes the phone and she starts talking to them, and she sees them, so she takes the phone, she starts talking to them, and she's got the phone like this, and then she goes like this, and she's like she sounds like she's like she speaks her own language, right? And then all of a sudden it's like hi, like, you know, she throws in her legible words every once in a while, and it's the cutest thing, and you don't want that for her. Like, I don't want her addicted to screen. Like, you know, so many people, it's like screen time. How long does your kid get screen time? How long does your kid get screen time? And I'm not going to lie, when the weather was horrible, we watched Frozen like 3 times in one day, because what else do you do with a 15, 16-year-old? You can't keep their attention. You can't go places. The weather's crap, and you can't go. And in Lethbridge, we get the wind. So even if it's 17 degrees outside, it's 100 mile-an-hour wind, so you can't do anything. So yeah, it's been a challenge. We're adjusting now, and I think we've kind of figured out our new routines. And the weather being nice has been wonderful, because the TV stays off. But we found that before Brooklyn, the TV would be off more, and we'd sit on the deck and have a fire, or go for walks, or play with the dogs in the yard, throw the ball, that sort of thing. So it was hard to just change. I'm very routine, you know that. You know, and even having Brooklyn and not being able to get up and then work out and then have my coffee and then get ready for work. You know, I used to be that routine, and then Brooklyn is a nature of that, is a result of that. So she's quite routine too. And, you know, if supper's not ready by 5:30, like, she's a bear. And so, you know, just, you know, changes in routine are hard, and we're getting there. We're adjusting, and we're doing well. But that's been, I think, where my mindfulness training myself to be more mindful has helped, for sure. Because I find, like, even just today, getting home from work, and Brooklyn is now insisting on walking herself, which is fine, which is good. Independence, yay. But it's like, I just want to go get the barbecue started, because we're having burgers for supper, and I want to have, you know, come on, Brooklyn, let's go. And then just stop, and I take 5 breaths, and I stop talking, and she listens, and she comes in. It's wonderful. Wonderful, because she doesn't sense my stress, right? And it's so silly. The stress is so silly, but my voice is, I'm sure, tense. And literally, like, I go 1, and I say it out loud, because I hope to instill it in her some way or another, right? Just to breathe and take every second of every day as it is. And even when she's crying about something silly, like pouring all the bubbles out, because she insists on holding the bubbles container on her own. And then she falls and spills all the bubbles. It's just like, 1, 2, by 5, she's calm. Like, it's been so awesome.
Amazing. And that's such a great piece of advice for parents out there who now, of course, have their child or children at home all the time, and they have now had that for weeks and weeks, right? So that's a great piece of guidance there. I love that. It's just like teaching ourselves or practicing mindfulness and showing our children that this is what we are doing, leading by example. And so it sounds like even at such a young age, like Brooklyn is paying attention to that. And even when I was there in February, like the way that you have dinner with Brooklyn and we're sitting there and she's got to put her little bowl on the table when she's finished, like so she can indicate to you when she's finished, and we all sit together and have dinner together. And there's just such a collective, like a beautiful collective approach that you have with parenting your daughter, like both of you and your husband.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so cool. Like I was taking videos of it. I just thought it was fantastic. Like watching this little girl, she was like, and then Julie, you were like, oh, are you done? I mean, obviously you were there, but I want to tell the story to whoever's watching, are you done? And Brooklyn was like playing with her food a little bit, but she wasn't done. She when she was done, she put her little plate on the table, and it was just amazing to watch that every dinner. Right.
Yep.
And that was just so cool. So I love to hear that you're taking that theme and you're using it in different ways. And so now you're leading by example with her, and she, after 5 seconds, she's like, okay, that happened, and now we move on with our lives, and spill the bubbles, and that's going to give her so much strength as she gets older to be able to face adversity in her life, because pouring the bubbles out accidentally for a very small child is devastating.
It's the end of the world.
It really is. It really is. And so as she faces, she works through that, and then she faces like devastating things as she grows up, which are devastating to her, even if we don't really, we don't think they are. But, as a 5-year-old, there'll be devastating things that will happen that will be very different than when she's 10 years old, and so on and so forth. So I love just to see that you're being really collective and showing her how to do these things now, because it will serve her very well in the future.
That's the hope. Sure. That's the hope. You always want better for your kids than you had for yourself, right? And so, I've learned so much through the life that I've lived. And you just try so hard to instill those lessons in your children, and it's hard because you can't force it, and they will need to learn things on their own. I get that, but I think that you just kind of do as much as you can and do the best that you have with what you have, and hope that it.
And they watch you. They're watching what you're doing, what you and John are doing, or like your daughter is watching you. And so how you behave and how you handle adversity will rub off as she grows up. Right. And so it's really important that we pay attention to how we're facing the adversity that we have in front of us.
She definitely yells at the dogs like we yell at the dogs.
Yeah. See, so there you go. So now this might be a really natural place to close the conversation. But before I say goodbye, and actually I'm going to stop the recording and then say goodbye to you privately. But before I close it, I always say, based on the nature of this conversation, the topics that we talked about, do you have any invitations / guidance / advice for any of our listeners about what they can be doing to help better their experience through this pandemic?
That's a good question. I think that it's important to remember that everybody is going through it at the same time. Like nobody's alone. And that's one thing that I've said to individuals that I support at work, as well as just within our family unit, is we all miss our friends, and we all miss our family, and we all miss whatever it was that we kept us going before all of this. So nobody's alone in this. And feel comfort in that. Like if anything, like it's not going to solve it. It's not going to make it go away faster, but feel comfort in knowing that people you do not know are also feeling the exact same feelings that people are feeling, that you're feeling. Sorry. People you do not know are feeling the exact same feelings that you're feeling right now. And try and be positive and make the best out of the situation, the best you can. Like that's the biggest thing, is you just got to try and do the best that you can with what you have. And if that means like, I hear that a lot, like, there's this lady that I follow on Instagram, and it's feeding Feeding Littles, it's called. And it's all about like teaching children how to eat human food, not pablum and like baby leg weaning and stuff like that. And you just got to do the best with what you have. And so you might be able to afford, you know, a full chicken and serve a full chicken for supper, or you might be serving chicken fingers, and that's okay, because if that's what you have, then you're doing the best you have with what you have. And so just do that with everything. If, you know, you're not working, but you can go and clean a room, like do something where you see progress and you see results, because you'll feel better when you can see results and you can see progress.
It's beautiful. I love so much what you've brought to the table here, Julie, and I'm even more grateful for you volunteering the time to do this with me and supporting the cause. I had no idea really what this was going to look like or who I was going to ask, but I'm just putting it out there and saying, like, I'm asking anybody who pops up on the radar who might be interested, and I have done a few interviews with people I've never met before who have come to the table with, or sorry, they've come to the table because of invitations through other people I've spoken to. So that's really neat too. And it's like two birds with one stone though, because it's great to see you and connect with you, because I haven't seen you since February, but it's also really wonderful to be able to share a message of hope, strength, and love to those who are watching, and that message may be shared over and over and over and over again, if you know, as it finds value through the social media channels. So yeah, really grateful for you and time tonight. I know it's an hour later there, so, and it's certainly not a routine thing that we've decided to do tonight, but and it's a weeknight, and I don't even actually know what day it is today. I've forgotten. Like, I just like day to day.
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday today. Yeah. Okay. That's great.
Tuesday all day.
Tuesday all day. Yeah. So I'm just gonna stop the recording, and then we'll say goodbye. But from our viewers to you, thank you very much, Julie.
Thank you for having me.
For sure.